Namaskaram, Om Namah Shivaya. Again, we'll be talking to Siddha Yogi Shriman ji, Shriman Adi Narayan ji. Appreciate the time. This is, I think, day 3 of our interview sessions. We've been talking about what Dharma really means, what is the guiding principle, which is letting the Atman, supporting Atman, letting divinity to express itself, and what are some key pillars, what are some best practices. But today, I'm sure you're all curious, and I'm curious, equally curious here as well, to learn the role of a dharmic lifestyle, Shrimanji, in your own life, right? And how has that evolved over the years, over the decades? And also at the end of it, if we can understand how, like, if you would have to design a lifestyle for spiritual seekers, what are the important elements? How would you design it? And what would the evolution of that would look like as well?
Namaste, Vanakkam. It was wonderful meeting you, talking to you again, Sridharan ji. It's always this is called Atma Bandhu. That means, connected by the divine spark, which is there everywhere. When we recognize that, it's always a joy. Yeah. There is nothing to, there is no lack. And it's a process of infinite discovery. And the discovery leading to infinite expression. And it is not perceived as a lack or a quarrel. It is perceived as the divine expressing itself in diverse, diverse ways, diverse means. And that way it is always a joy. This is Ananda. That's why our rishis, our siddhas, fundamentally look at everything as Satchit Ananda Swarupa. Life similarly, when we bring this component to the fore, then we experience that Ananda, not implicit, but even explicit. No, in all expressions we find that Ananda, the divine expression. And that leads to a dharmic way of life. When we say a dharmic way of life, that is to express that divinity, and there is great Ananda in that expression. So that is the key spirit. Now, for many people, the expression of life seems to make them more miserable. There is Ananda missing. So just living a life seems burdensome. Every day waking up, participating in the life process seems a huge load to carry, which seems crushing. There is no rasa, there is no ananda, there is no joy. Or sometimes there is a spike, after that there is a fall. So this, if we start connecting with what we have been discussing, then it leads us to a dharmic way of life, a dharma chintana, dharma vichara. That means that what is that view that will give us that perception of Ananda, because we are Satchit Ananda Swarupa. We are that Ananda Swarupa. Now, that might be counterintuitive, right? It might not be perceptible. I'm not experiencing it. Then how is it that, the rishis or the siddhas or the mahatmas say that we are Ananda Swarupa? It is counterintuitive. It's not visible. So that's where we have to understand that that is a journey, there is a process of discovery. And there are these aha moments as we go ahead, as we plow through initially. It might seem we are not going anywhere, but as we keep at it, there are those aha moments. Yes, okay. So it gets more and more interesting. As we engage with it more and more it's exciting, more and more there is involvement, there is a intensification that happens, there is a velocity that is gained. So this is beautifully captured in Maharishi Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. One sutra is Tivra Samveganam Asanna. That means, Tivrata means intensification. Samvega means, the velocity increases, the speed increases. Then the goal is closer. And the goal is to experience the ananda that is inherent. Now, that is a process, that is a journey. There are so many discoveries along the path, and it is like a treasure hunt for a child. They go to seeking, searching here, there, and suddenly find one treasure. And yes, it gets interesting. Then it speeds up, then it intensifies. So that's how the journey is a glorious process if we choose to look at it that way. And each step of the way there are these ahas. So that is the dharmic way of life. When we say a way of life, it's not static, it's not out there, it's not commanded by rules, not like that. There are yama niyama, but all those are like, let's imagine it is like a lab setup. You are setting up a lab within to explore, to guide you on your journey. And there are best practices that rishis share, the dharmikas share, the sanatani samskaras share. And those yama niyamas, as you intelligently use it, then you are calibrating your internal viewpoints, which are very complex, which are very diverse, because there are million parameters, parametric combinations. So it is like an intelligent combinatrix. Which pathway will you take? That is live. And that has to be governed by appropriate, intelligent judgments, decision makings. And that is the exciting journey. And all for the expression of Ananda, which is a different expression. So it's very glorious if we look at every step as a process of discovery, as a process of learning, and that refines, calibrates our judgments. So even a closed path, decision which we take, and the path is closed, it's a probable mistake. Even that adds value to us, to our journey. So that way, it's a very exciting journey. So there is so much inherent ananda as we go forward. There is an intensification. There is a excitement, growing excitement. There is you can call it a speedification. Tivra samveganam asana. So given this,
if I can ask, so like 30, 40 years ago, when you were your younger self, right? I presume your lifestyle was slightly different, right? Were there elements of Dharma still embedded in the way you were living your life? How did that help to get to a certain stage? And then beyond which I presume you very consciously embedded elements that very intentionally helped you progress in a sense, right? What was it like before till you got to that platform or that stage, and what was it later, and how did it evolve?
Yeah, yes, that's where I'm getting at, and thanks for focusing the question there. Say, my childhood was a normal childhood. Not that I'm too aged in the body now, and not 3-4 decades is not too much.
Right.
So my childhood was a pretty normal childhood. What we can call in India as a typical middle class family. My father was in a government job, and my mother was a housewife. I have two elder sisters who were growing up. We were growing up in a small household in a government quarters, and so my father did not possess any vehicles. So you can, a cycle was a premium. So you can imagine a normal middle class household, not even not along current lines. This by current assessments, this would be, a lower middle class.
Mm.
If we, so very normal circumstances, going to school, good jolly life, very simple Hindu family.
Mm.
Okay, Hindu samskaras were there, like going to temple, simple niyamas like not wasting food, praying before food, not commenting on food,
Mm.
whether it's bad, I don't like it, I hate it. No. So growing up in a simple family setup with some resource constraints. So that is typical Indian middle class at that 1980s kind of setup. So growing up there, uh, simple routine, going to school, coming back, the simple routine, but not pre-internet age or pre-mobile age. At that time, in our home, there was not even a telephone. People used to gather together to watch a TV.
Mm.
So these kinds of setups where there would be social gathering as well. So human presence you cannot avoid. You could not isolate yourselves, withdraw yourselves. So this kind of a very simple setup, growing along with the community around, uh, playing together, getting hurt, some fights, joys, all these together mixed back. So normal growth, normal training, uh, not typically a current urban, slightly, now India is much more, you grow up in the urban places, it's slightly more, upper middle classish. But this I'm describing a different, a slightly different setup, and yet a happy, joyful life. So it was a normal growth, and then my father used to be very, interested in me being healthy,
Mm.
sports. So he used to make sure that he performs yogasana as when I wake up. So from very young age, I got the habit of performing asanas,
Mm.
because I used to watch him daily and then roll over his shoulders, and that's how I learned yogasana. So very simple setup, not going to a class, going to coaching, not like that. In the family itself, simple samskaras are there. So a disciplined lifestyle, I would say.
So, Shrimanji, was it mostly Hatha Yoga or was it also involving pranayama?
No pranayama. In fact, Hatha Yoga, now if we look at Hatha Yoga Pradipika and such texts, Hatha Yoga is much more. It's not just asana. That's asana.
Mm.
So Hatha Yoga also includes Shatkarma and so on.
Okay.
I had no such introduction. This is not like classical Hatha Yoga. This is more
Correct.
like simple asana. That you see your father performing, you also roll over and learn.
Right, right,
That's
right, right.
that way. Just some, you can call it like Arabic movement.
Right.
If we mention it, it's not Hatha Yoga so much.
Mm.
So robust physically, so running, jogging, playing. I used to be in the basketball team. I used to, as I grew up in school and college, I started representing in basketball, in cricket, and shuttle badminton, in TT, in football. You name it. I used to be there in all sports and games, and naturally.
Mm.
So that was my father's orientation. He gave me a push in that direction. Not too much coaching per se, but more like physical activity out there, out there. So that gave me a very good sense of health combined with my mother's approach to herbs. So wherever my mother and father used to get transferred, it was a transferable job. They used to set up a herbal garden. In Tamil, we say Tuduvalai, Tulasi, Adadodai, Kannangatri, Omavalli. So these herbs would be there. So any slight disturbance in, say fever, cough, cold, immediately one kashayam would come.
Mm.
So not so much the pharmacy. So this was like a home pharmacy, which is
Mm.
herb. So that was also very helpful. So on one end, it was physical activity, robust physical activity, and the idea of managing health was also very simple herbal remedies at home. So this combination gave me a good sense of robust health, simplified health, no panic, no fear, insecurity driven health. So imagine now, and very simple vegetarian lifestyle. Uh, what? The first time I went to US, everyone was asking about proteins.
Mm-hmm.
I, I was a little, what is this protein all about? I have grown up like this, and robust, I'm strong. I used to
Right.
perceive myself strong. So that way, there was no fad-based nutrition.
Right.
Simple home food. It would be mainly tair sadam, as you can say, rasam sadam, tair sadam, a little lentils, rice, then some more buttermilk, and a few vegetables. That's standard daily food.
Mm.
No, no variation at all.
That's what I
No.
grew up with as well. In fact, there is substantial overlap between Guruji, your lifestyle, and what I grew up with as well.
Yeah.
Specifically on food, Guruji, there is a movie called The Game Changers. I don't know whether you've seen the movie or not.
No, not yet.
So they particularly, throw light on exactly what you said. Like protein need not just come from animals. And it's funny that they ask the question around, hey, what are some of the biggest, meanest, strongest animals that you know of, right? Then people say elephant, horse, rhino, and all of these. Then they ask, where are they getting their protein from? They get it from grass,
Yeah.
right? So,
Seriously.
so we are only using them as middlemen. You could get it directly from plants as well.
Exactly, exactly. And hence, you would see, given the diversity there is there in the whole world, diverse cultures, even within India, there are so many approaches to nutrition
Right.
that give us confidence that practically anything will work
Right.
as long you have some sense. Anything will work. There's so much diversity to approach to nutrition and health that we
Right.
can be pretty confident. We don't need to be driven by fear and insecurity about health all the time. But that was instilled by my parents from very young age. So there was no panic or insecurity driven health. No fad based approach to nutrition. Very simple, very matter of fact nutrition. No big fuss and no eating out, no like grabbing things. No, this is important. Protein is important. This is important. Not too much. It's like simple traditional nutrition. It just worked. You know,
Mm.
no overeating. Obviously, that is correctly managed. At that time, food would be available. No keep
Right.
on eating. So no keeping on snacking. Uh, so like this, simple principles were maintained. So main thing would be physical activity. Go out there, run, play. So that would be there, and hence physical health was pretty robust. So
Mm.
that orientation really helped. There was no insecurity, and there was simple asana to back it up. This is pretty much my childhood. No studies, anyhow, it used to happen. But the main part was physical. So the physical health and simple discipline. You could not express, too much anger in front of the father. Yeah, all that would be a strict no-no. That hit you back really hard. With my mother, I could have some freedom. But as a family, it was generally a simple, harmonious, happy family. My sisters, growing up was simple. It was not too complicated, no complicated logic, no big understanding, no simple, harmonious daily life would be just good. Just play, sleep, go to school. A simple life. So most of my growing up years were very simple, harmonious.
Mm.
Then came my teenage, especially when I entered 11th and 12th standard. many things I observed. I used to, from childhood, I used to observe my body and mind here. Uh, I used to keep observing them. It was a natural condition for me. Then later I understood that it's a spiritual condition, but later. But a natural condition was a detached, my body and mind I used to constantly observe. At that time, I didn't have exposure to Vedantic concepts, or I didn't have access to spiritual gurus, enlightened people. It was simple, going to temple, puja, simple shlokas, all that was there, but not anything explicitly Vedantic or spiritual or, yogic and so on. Very simple lifestyle.
So, Guruji, did you think that visualizing your your mind out there, did you think that was probably how everybody thought, or
Yeah, there was no specific logic at all because at that time the reasoning is not well developed. See, once there is reasoning developed, you start thinking, okay, others are also viewing the world. How are others viewing the world? It's not so much. As a child growing up, you're indrawn.
correct?
You're active with your own life, not applying too much thought to it. But naturally, my state of experience was the body is here, mind is here. Now I'm having a logical expression to it. At that time, no words, it was not even well formed ideas. Not thinking, do others also view the world like this? That kind of thought itself did not arise, because it's a simple, happy go lucky, just playing. That's it, you're not applying any thought to anything.
Just going around life. Yeah.
Just going on. Life is going smoothly. Why do you need to question it? That a simple childhood.
Right.
Then 11th and 12th, something significantly shifted, where I observed that suddenly questions were arising. I started having simple questions about things around me, about my parents' words. I started testing hypotheses. What they you can call it, in popular terminology, maybe it's considered rebellion, the rebellious nature. But in my eyes, from my inside out perspective, I was looking at it more like inquisitiveness, curiosity to find out. It's like testing hypothesis. You're telling me something, but let me find it out for myself. That kind of approach. So I will not exactly label it as rebellion, though in one sense, yes, it does qualify as being a rebel, but not so much. It's not explicitly so much emotions, trauma. That's not how I would describe it.
Were your parents supportive of those questioning?
The household was a very simple household, you can imagine. There was no so much debate or so much explanation or so much logic involved. It was a simple, happy family, just a normal family. One cannot even call it a happy family. For that, you need to have unhappiness. This is a simple flow. It's just flowing on. That's all. With no big obstructions. That shows the genius of the tradition, the Indian tradition, which allows for a normal upbringing without any big obstructions, without too much of any of the obstacles that modernity faces. So it was simply growing up. Parents used to handle, for example, finances, this, that. The children would not come to, there would be no discussion or big problems. So all those would not be visible at all. It was just simple growing up. So that way, it was not so much of a discussion and debate, me questioning, not like that. I would have freedom in terms of, there would be achar and niyama. What I eat, it will be in the hands of my parents. Okay. My health would be in the hands of my parents. No doubt. If I fall sick, I'll be questioned. What did you eat? Simple. So the source of ill health is food. Eating habits, wrong eating. So very simple mapping, and it has worked. That has given tremendous confidence for me. So that way, if you fall sick, then you become visible. So you better not fall sick. And sickness is just to do with mismanaging food. It's a very simple mapping, nothing else. So that way, the food is in the hands of my mother. That's it. So health is easily governed because she would know, my father would know. Okay, why are you sick now? That would be the question. So it's a reason, you know. So there would be so sickness is not so much celebrated because it's just mismanaging food.
Right.
That has been a very useful learning. You know, it's not all over the place. And added to that, you would see that achara niyama. That means, you know, sickness is eliminated. So the body is robust. The mind is free. So vichara could expand. That was allowed. So achara is contained so that your health is not damaged, but the mind is free. So one could explore anything. There was no questioning of that. There was no debate about that. But achara is anyhow disciplined, you know, because health should not go bad. You know, that's a very simple rule. So this kind of framework really was very empowering because I could explore various ideas, all that, and all that was fine. But when it came to health, it was very simple. You know, you have to be healthy, no matter what. Otherwise, you'll be questioned. You will become visible. And teenager, you know, you don't want to be visible unnecessarily because that will create issues for yourself. It's like you don't want the focus light on yourself, you know. So that was very, you know, very important learning. Now that I look back, so given this, it was a normal, you know, normal Indian household at that time, not going out of the way exploration. Simple schooling, simple college. I went to engineering. There I had good friends. I could interact. I could explore. Then I had my own, say, for example, I had fear of public speaking. I had English language problems. All those, there was support for me to gradually overcome. All that was normal growing up. Okay. In my college days, in my later during my teenage, I also started somehow. My Ishta Devata at that time was Hanumanji. So I felt I could trust him. So I used to have a photo of him. See, now many people don't understand photo or idol. They become objective. They understand that it's a subject-object relationship. So your bhava matter more than the photo or the idol itself.
Right.
Okay, those things most people don't understand. But for me, Hanumanji was real. I could talk to him daily. I also used to read newspapers every day. I used to read newspapers, and in 11th and 12th standard, and that was primarily my sisters introduced it so that I could improve in English, you know, language. It also had the consequence of me thinking about the world. That's when I started reasoning about the world, and I started understanding that the world is filled with a lot of problems. Not my world. My world was safe, secure. My parents, small, you know, you are in school, so limited exposure. It's just the immediate society. But the world out there that I'm getting exposed to through newspapers. Even now, if you look at the news, any news channel, it's filled with a lot of problems, right? So that shaped my thought because I started feeling very strongly I should do something about, you know, something for the world. But I felt very incompetent, constrained that I'm not able to do anything, contribute to the world because the world is suffering. The natural intention is, hey, I should rush in to do something about the world. Uh, that I could not, and that created a lot of emotional constraint, which I could not express to anybody because if I express to my parents, it will be like, hey, study properly. You are in your 11th and 12th. Don't worry about world and all that. It will be there. You grow up and then save the world. Now study. So that would be very heartbreaking. You know, no teenager can take it. So my only solace was Hanumanji. So night long I would cry to him. like, oh, the world is suffering so much, I need to do something. Okay, for a teenager, you can imagine with no exposure to the world out there, it's only the newspapers, and newspapers are the world. And the newspaper is filled with problems of the world. Then what is the world like? Full of problems. People are suffering. And any natural human instinct will be filled with compassion, to the urge to do something. Hey, what can I do? What can I do to assuage that suffering? Uh, so that's a natural instinct. But when there is no expression of that, then it becomes very constrained feeling, and hence to express it, I found only Hanumanji. So so I would cry, I would talk to him, and that he gave me a lot of strength, because it's about the bhava. It's about, so that also trained my feelings. When I look back, Hanumanji was very important for my growth in emotions. In those have been very significant. The reason why I'm mentioning is that is also very much part of what I'm doing now, setting up an ashram and loka sangraha, when we say. So that way, those years were formative years, because those became very important. Because okay, if the world is going through something, I cannot be just watching, not doing anything. I have to participate somehow. So that became formative years, because before then, no exposure to news or this, it's just playing, it's just growing up. That is pre-teenage, which is very quite normal, not burdened with so many things, just playing, just immediate life, right? There is no immediacy of thought and so on. It's just daily life going on. But then this exposure to the newspaper and the news media gave me a different orientation. So,
Guruji, I just want to acknowledge something here. I mean, even though you're talking about a simple life, it seems like you've already had some foundational introductions to Yama Niyama, health, that we spent quite a bit of time in terms of best practices under dharmic traditions. It seems like that has been sorted out in a way, simplified for you, right? I think that a basic introduction to bhakti has been given to you. Even though basic introductions are given, I think everybody relates to the deities very differently. I think based on what I'm hearing, that the way you related to deity is very unique, right? Not everybody has that kind of bhakti bhava in that age. And the way you related, the way you expressed, and the way you saw the world, and the way you reacted, the pain that you felt is also very unique, right? In a way, I'm seeing that as divinity expressing itself already.
one can say that, but imagine as a child, as a teenager, you're trying to make sense, and that's where, as you beautifully put it, yes, physically robust, so good physical growth, and now emotional growth. This is the phase where my emotions mature, where I started understanding, no matter how much complication or suffering is there in the world, one needs to stabilize one's emotions. And there Hanumanji was a very important role. So, as you rightly say, that is bhakti bhava. So, daily I used to chant, Hanuman Chalisa. Yeah, because it was a live, for me, it was a very simple, not live, not big philosophical concepts, not religious concepts, not very simple connect. Because I want to do something. There is that stimuli, which is the newspaper that is showing me the world, and I see it's filled with suffering, and I, as a simple human instinct, I wish to do something about it, and I feel constrained. And that automatically turns me towards the easiest person that I can approach to express my feelings. And that is Hanumanji. Because if I express it to anybody else, they will judge me. They will. I cannot cry to anybody. I'm a teenager. I need that space to even cry, to express emotions, because others might misjudge me, and there will be trust issues. Who do I trust? Do I trust my parents? If I express it to my parents, as I told you, they will say you are wasting your time, and that would be very tragic for me to because I'm not wasting my time. I'm serious. I'm very serious. Just that I cannot yet see that point of view that I should be focusing on studies. But keep away the news media for the time being. How can I do that? Because the world is suffering. I need to do something. It's not, I cannot postpone it in the future. No, now I will focus on this. Then later I will think about the world. I could not isolate it like that. It's not in isolated compartments.
Mm.
So that is the growth of bhava or bhakti or feelings or emotions, however we call it. And naturally I turned to Hanumanji. So daily I would chant Hanuman Chalisa. Then at one time I was looking for a teacher who would guide me because Hanumanji was there for me, but I wanted some person live who could do. Then I started evaluating everybody, irrespective of age. For me, age was not a constraint. Small children, big people, my parents, my teachers, in the limited community of the central government living area. I started evaluating everybody, but I could not find anybody to suit my view. Uh, in my own limited way, I was evaluating, and then one day I felt I just gave up the effort of looking for a teacher. This all in teenage, so you can imagine. It's one should not think more than that. It's very simple part of growing up. And then I started, now that I see it, I started experimenting with a little bit of, say, I used to look at the lamp and then focus on it. Like that, I started developing intuitively what now will be considered Trataka, uh, yogic practice. So without much of an initiation, I naturally turned towards it because I was looking for a teacher, and somehow that seemed dissatisfactory. I was not satisfied fully with that evaluation, and hence naturally I wanted to figure out. It was a natural exploration. So I turned to looking at a lamp because every day the lamp would be lit. A simple Hindu household, the family deity, there would be the puja room, the lamp would be lit. And I started looking at the lamp and started, like that, I was experimenting, evolving. Like that, one day I was so upset with reading all the news that one day I decided I want to be happy. So let me try it out. Is my happiness a consequence of everything around me? So for that, I decided one day I'm going to experiment just being happy. So I started out in the morning having a good breakfast because you cannot be happy with an empty stomach. So a good breakfast, and then deciding that today I'm going to be happy no matter what, as an experiment. That day was a big gain in perspective because the whole day I was happy and I could do it. Through everything and anything and everything, I was engaging with the newspapers, I was engaging with studies, I was doing all that, but I constantly remembered that I just should be happy, and hence I was happy. So I created that sense of balance. So the circumstances don't determine my sense of happiness. I had freedom to decide to be happy and be happy. So such experiments were very illustrative for me. It was not prolonged, it was just quick. It's more like a hacker's approach, I understood later. So that time I get a feeling, I would try it out. Not forever happy. That day I have to be happy. And
this to Vrata.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is Vrata. So such experiments led me on, gave me, so my emotions got trained. So I could retain my stability no matter what. Then I remember once there was in school, there was a de-addiction campaign, or addiction awareness campaign. giving the ill effects of smoking. At that time, smoking itself was a big, big thing. Now there are bigger problems in schools and colleges. But there were a couple of doctors that came and showed how the lungs get affected and all these as part of smoking habit. I remember thinking when I came home, when I was thinking, see, this is like budding. You don't have big data exposure of the internet age. You don't have a device. Your exposure is limited to the people that you interact with. And in your regular circumstances, you don't get to interact with too many diversity of people. It's the regular teachers, regular friends. That's all your people footprint is only that much. So there is no big data of exposure. So when a doctor comes to your school, it's a big thing, you know. So I remember thinking, okay, smoking. Where is smoking? Is it in this action? Then I understood that smoking is not in this action. It is to do with thought. So thought, the action. That means thought should be in my control. Without which I cannot de-addict myself. Then I found I did not have such habits because simple family. My father used to joke that see, we could not afford it, so we are healthy. I could not afford bad habits, so we are healthy. So logic, and very profound logic if you look at it, because bad habits are very expensive. We could not afford to get sick. Right. So it was simple niyamas that helped ensure health. So I thought that thought drives habits. If I'm not able to regulate thought, then in future I could develop any bad habit. I could get addicted to anything because I'm addicted to thought. I realize that I'm addicted to thinking. The thinking is just going on. The more I become aware of my thought, I could not regulate it. I could not stop it. I realized that was an alarming realization. Oh, then it does not matter smoking or drinking or good habits, bad habits. I'm just addicted because I could not regulate thought. Naturally, my view, you can call this spiritual in nature, but at that time I have no inkling of spiritual philosophies or this. This is a natural step-by-step childhood exploration, teenage exploration, I can say.
But Shrimanji, this realization that you're talking about is actually very profound.
I know.
Addiction to thought and actually stepping away and seeing that as a third person and acknowledging is very profound. I don't know how old you were then. I mean, of course, we all at some point realized, but we are much older. Yeah.
But you can see, one can. That's when we realize Adi Shankara Bhagavad at 8 or 11 years of age, completing the Vedic studies and then going forth for Vedanta. All these have been shown as illustrations in the Indian system, where your growth, wisdom, spiritual growth, all these are not limited by your physical age. As the Jivatma, you carry deeper samskaras that will fructify at an appropriate age, determined by certain circumstances. But otherwise, these are very important things. But now we judge everybody based on their physical age alone. See, just graying hair will not give you wisdom or spiritual growth. It requires those, that work, that kind of orientation. So somehow at that time, I had no idea about spiritual aspects because there was no exposure. I did not even have books. All the books that I had was physics, chemistry, math, biology, and so on. It's just these books. So that is my exposure. I had no Bhagavad Gita, no Vedanta, no Yoga Shastra. Simple practices. It's practices based. It's more like living, lifestyle based concepts, not conceptual understanding. So that way, no jnana. So this natural transformation I'm just describing, where it was like a logical next step. It's line of sight. What you see, it stimulates. You start reasoning out. You start questioning. Then you go to the next step, and next step, and next step. Like that, physical, emotional, now thought. and I was not able to switch off thought. So I started experimenting with it. The more I experimented, the more I was aware that hey, I could not switch off the mind.
Mm.
The mind is cluttered. There are so many thoughts running, and I don't have a clue what is running because anything would suddenly come. And I did not have the reasoning framework. I did not have the knowledge to determine what is happening. And I clearly understood, yeah, smoking is not out there. The addiction is not out there. I realized this. I did not express it to anybody because, see, at that time growing up, we are not living in an expressive culture. You cannot freely talk to your teachers. You cannot freely talk to your you are a child. You are just a teenager. Not teenagers are much more empowered. They can freely talk. You understand in the 80s or early 90s or this, it is not like that. At least that's the prevalent view. So that way, I am just reasoning out, that I'm not able to regulate my thoughts because it's ad hoc. Uh, I'm not able to regulate my dreams. Gradually I started becoming aware of the dreams also, and I'm not able to regulate the dreams. I'm not able to determine that this dream I should not have, this thought I should not have. So every kind of thought is coming, and I have no handle over it. So that way, I have no handle over my life because I clearly see addiction or any expression is just thought expressed. And I cannot handle thought because in my eyes as a teenager,
Right.
I cannot handle thought, and I'm trying, in all, to whatever extent, not like full-fledged sadhana and so on. So I was experimenting with, waking up. I used to wake up at around 4:30, do my asana, try to observe the mind. Like that, I was cooking up my own methodologies, okay?
Mm.
And then do shavasana, and next thing I know, it's time for school. So, shavasana was a big difficulty because my food habits were not in my hands. It was in my mother's hands, and mother would ensure what quantity of food I need to eat, how what to eat, how much to eat. All that is in my mother's hand. So I could still not touch food. I could not touch many aspects of my lifestyle. And with that, I was trying to wake up, at 4, and then doing asanas, and then trying to relax, and then I did not still have ideas of meditation.
Mm.
This is where I'm proceeding, but I did not have ideas. I did not have knowledge. I did not have any books to reference. So that way, gradually it was developing. It was more like seed stage. And Shavasana, it took me, it was so relaxing that every day I would sleep. And I would be like, today also gone. So every effort would be there. And every day would be like painful. Today also gone.
Mm.
Because if you miss that, then it's school. And school means the full day is gone.
Mm.
Then I see it next morning. And early morning, somehow I would wake up. So that was the experiment that was going on. And in the midst, you can imagine, Hanumanji, like that, no, it was evolving.
Mm.
I also was growing to understand how people view. For example, I was known to be fairly successful in studies and so on, and a very positive person, very cheerful person, a helping kind. That was the image that people had because naturally I would feel for things, not over feeling, not over expressive, but subdued, subtle, and cheerful. I would always give a positive hand to people if they. And I was also a school pupil leader, so
Mm.
I was that kind of a position, a leadership position where the entire school would look up to me. I was also the basketball captain, like that. No, no, all that was there.
Mm.
So the social profile is also there. And then I happened to fail in an exam, which everyone came to know.
Mm.
Because I was experimenting with all of this. My studies was always there, but it was not there, and hence I failed in an exam, which caused a lot of disillusionment. And that was a huge learning experience for me because I suddenly saw uh, how others' minds, the images that they hold, became visible. See what becomes visible, the image formation, sustenance, it does not become visible unless you can compare and contrast with a drastic change in the image. Whenever
Yesterday you were something, and today you are suddenly something else.
suddenly something else, and that was brilliant. For me, huge jump in discovery. I suddenly understood everyone's mind, how images work, how perception works. Yeah, how everyone saw me, how the perception was till yesterday, and suddenly how it flipped today. It was beautiful. Not it was very shocking because, but it was beautiful because it gave me insight as to how people perceive, how society operates, and how that matters to my inner stability. All that became visible instantaneously. So that gave me a lot of learning and freedom because I understood, oh, people perceive like this, and you need to keep up that perception. If anything you do suddenly flips, then you could have a challenge. You could. Also, I was used to, for example, my father was in a transferable job. So I would live in a certain place, the image would build up, and then we would get transferred, and I would go to a new place, and it is like a reset. I could be a new me, and gradually people will perceive that new me. Those episodes gave me a lot of freedom to jump. Because if you live in the same space, you cannot jump. Your image, the people's gradually evolves. But when your father gets transferred and you are in a new society and with no communication with the previous society, because it's not an internet age, it's not mobile telephony. So we will not call friends and so on, no telephone access. So you just get cut off and you go to the next place, and hence you can have a fresh start. So by the time few times it happens, I understood the process that I could have a start and a reset.
You can define however you want to define yourself.
Exactly. So that was a huge learning. That used to be huge learning. But this was a different level of learning where the image that you have around you that becomes visible with one episode. So the perception was here, and suddenly it fell here, and instantaneously, and hence that contrast you cannot miss, and that was huge learning because suddenly people were looking at me as hey, he's a failure. We thought he was a success. Well, now he's a failure. He's failed. He's failed because see, imagine small community and only school in that community. So everyone knows everyone else. So there is no anonymity, right? So that way, that was a huge learning episode. So these were the episodes, very normal day-to-day episodes that guided my inner growth very concretely, very significantly, I would say. So that way, I started understanding how society, the societal image matters. It did not, very surprisingly, it did not cause any bitterness. It did not cause any ill feeling against society, against parents, against other people. No, struggling, not in that sense. This was all more observational. It was like living inside out and seeing the impact on the body, the mind, how how others' image impacts the mind. These were all highly illustrative for me at that stage. That led to a certain maturing. So then came college. College was a lot of freedom. Freedom in terms of see friends. Friends does not mean party. You're growing up. Before 2000. So friends mean simple freedom. Just hanging out, chilling out, talking for however many long hours. It's these simple freedoms, not big partying or anything, because there's simply no money, not that much money,
Were
You
you a day
simply,
scholar or hostler?
I was a hostler. So hostel gave me a lot of learning because uh, also, yeah, I had a positive feel to myself. I was always positive. I had a positive mindset. So that way, people used to come around when they needed some a positive push to themselves. They would come around and naturally get that push, and I would be aware of it. My a positive flip to viewing things. I would naturally do it because I had already experimented with such things like being happy no matter what. So circumstances don't matter. So I have that strength of conviction already because I had experimented, and by my own reasoning I understood it. So there was no what we call Sanatana Dharma explicitly visible in my life. Till then, it was not explicitly visible. So the way I'm describing Hanumanji, even at that time, Hanumanji was my Ishta Devata. So the way I'm describing is not like explicit Hinduism. It's more like implicit, inherent. It's more inside more than visible outside. So my dressing, all that would not be like this, obviously.
Right.
Obviously, at that time, the beard, the mustache was just trying to pop out. So it's still teenager. Late teenager, late to pop out what to do because of all various healthy practices. So there is no onslaught of hormones that much because all achar and niyama is there. So that linkage is unmissable. So that way, college was very, very fruitful, I would say, because of my friends. I had very good learning. I had amazing set of friends. So each brought in their own dimension, and I could learn so much. So obviously, I was directly oriented more towards the psychology. That is what the yogic system is. Yoga deals with the chitta, what happens in the chitta. That is the main purpose. So that way, I had that yogic touch from the beginning, I could say, because the chitta was the forefront of observation. So then came, post college, came my, this huge drive to go for masters in the US. So GRE, I was successful in it. I went to the US, and after my education there in the US was pretty good. It was intense. I was also ambitious. I want to be a multimillionaire by 25. So that's what I and my roommate in college days used to discuss, how to make it. So we would look at IEEE, ACM magazines, this, that, so many things. All in the air, not just the regular syllabus, in the air projections. But those helped. So that way, working with ideas, how do you actionate upon ideas in this reality? And then we went to the US, both of us went to the US. And in the US, my schedule was also, I used to push myself. So I used to work late, early into the morning, and then again a few hours of sleep, and then again out. Because I had to do my part-time work for sustaining me, my monthly finances. There was no funding, and I had to study, and the mode of study was very different from India. From I remember, I and my friend were thinking just 3 courses, 4 courses, just 9 credits to register. All the time will be free. This is not sufficient. We should be more ambitious. That's how we thought. Then coming to the US, just registering for 3 courses, it was crushing. It was
It's a bit too much, yeah.
It was a lot of 9 credits. I could not imagine 12 credits, registering for 12 credits a semester. I could not imagine that. It was a crushing load. The semester, but I was ambitious. I was pushing myself. I was testing the limits. So the initial semester I registered for 9 credits. The second semester I registered for 12 credits. And then I pushed it. I registered for, I think, more than that in the final semester. 5 courses with one independent study. So that's it. That really taught that I graduated in 3 semesters. But in the meantime, what happened? See, I was from electrical engineering background. I had no clue of computer science or engineering, and I had registered for computer courses. Like operating systems, microarchitecture. So everything was new. But I had no fear. Without fear, I used to encounter it because there was no calculation about the future. That is greatness of an Indian family, which gives you that assurance. No matter what, we are there. So I had no, without fear, I could encounter the courses, I could study, I could play with it, and the freedom of US education, where you could choose to credit, audit diverse courses. So I had audited courses like tennis, swimming, golf. You can imagine. So it was a lot of exploration, natural exploration. That freedom of educational exploration is something very, that really gave me clues as to, later it guided me with respect to educational exploration, how knowledge as an exploration is very important. And the system should facilitate that exploration, not, inhibit that exploration. So that US education gave me. It was deadlines, 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 and there would be consequences to those deadlines. That also was important learning. So time matters. Indian education is very different. At that stage, at least my exposure was very different. So US education got me oriented towards deadlines, timeliness, time management, goal management, very specific deliverables, no vagueness, hard hitting. So that was very good training, I would say. And hence, but I could manage the stress. It was stressful, but I could manage the stress because my health was robust. I would never fall sick. So I'm always available. Sickness would have prevented me from that kind of an availability and would have caused fear and insecurity. So since I should thank my parents and the lifestyle that they induced for no sickness-free life. Very simple habits, achara niyama. That's the genius of the Indian system. So that way, without sickness, I had no insecurity or fear. I could just approach life and take the stress. I could handle the stress. For example, I was an underdog when it came to programming or Linux, for example. Within 6 months, because of my effort, everyone used to consult me about Linux. So like that, there was a transformation which was visible. And because of sheer hard work, I could put an effort and the educational system rewarded it. I could focus and then come out tops. So like that, it was very fruitful, very satisfying. What many others would call it highly stressful, but the stress was highly rewarding in terms of experiences.
Right.
By the end of my education, when I graduated in 3 semesters, and I felt empty. See, I wanted to be a multimillionaire, and somehow, with this intensity, I felt empty. See, that emptiness was deep. I had no future thought. I had no past misgivings. Past and the future, the mind was not swinging. It was empty. It was a very interesting phase where, otherwise I should be worried about, my job, giving interviews. Suddenly my mind was empty. I was not projecting. So I was just relaxed. While the world would expect me to be a little, at least, after you graduate, your visa standing stays only for a certain time. You know that. So you need to get a job before then. And that's very competitive. But then I was not worried. I had no fear, no insecurity. My education was done, and I was just still, just okay, relaxed. So in this state of mind, a few weeks happened, and then there was the New Year Eve that my roommates left for a party, and I was left physically alone for 3 days. They were very good roommates. I was blessed to. I've always been blessed to have wonderful people around me. Both in India and during my US education, I had wonderful roommates. Everyone a gem of a person. So they were willing to fund my, trip to the New Year Eve party, but I was not. Somehow, I felt too relaxed to take that step. So I was already broke, so no funds, and no part-time job. I was out of a part-time job, and yet relaxed, not feeling insecure. It was a strange combination. It was like what I call emptiness. Everything was clean. It's like everything wiped clean. My funds gone, my education gone, my aspirations gone, you know, and then my roommates also gone. So this was also empty, for 3 days. So in this profound emptiness, where the mind was not swinging towards the past, education complete, everything complete, good life. So no thoughts of the past and no thoughts of the future, no projection.
And this wasn't experimentation at all, like you've done in the past. This wasn't a planned thing.
No, this was spontaneous. I think this can be described in modern terms. If you look at it with a negative view, this can be termed as a burnout. It was not burnout. It was actually everything was burnt out because you had run so hard, but not positive stress. You were not sick, and yet everything was wiped clean. So you can call it burnout, but not in a negative way at all. That led to something very profound. In 3 days, my mind became still, absolutely still. My breath also stopped for the most part. So there was a profound relaxation that I encountered. So when my roommates returned back, they found something had happened. I was just still. I was silent, and no words were coming out. I was just still, and I was relaxed. I was just there, without moving, without and days and nights used to go like that. So they became a little concerned because they have to answer my parents when they call. From the US, you usually have phone calls, and your parents know practically all your roommates. That's Indian parents. So if anything is there, they will talk to your friends to find out what is happening in your life. So they are well-wishers. They wish to understand what is going on. They saw something has happened and relaxed as relaxed can be. So just still and silent. My inner state of experience was profound. It was profound stillness, just expansive stillness, where the boundary of who I am, normally the boundary is the body and mind. Only in deep sleep, you don't have the boundary of the body and mind. But here I am with no boundary of the body and mind. And yet sleeping, so that was a profound experience. It was deep stillness that I experienced. And naturally, many other experiences started happening, like the boundary of the mind and so on. Anybody's thoughts would get projected into the mental screen. Like that, I started experiencing reality in a very different way, intuitively. Then gradually, because of my roommates, I could see them. So to comfort them, I started. I had to express. For expressing, I need to understand, what is happening. So I looked at a little bit of Western psychology, philosophy. I could not find any corroboration there. So I looking at Indian philosophy, psychology for the first time. So I started studying Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Yoga Shastra. Then I understood that this experience can be termed as samadhi. So when I started talking, then they found some comfort. They understood, okay, we are still in talking terms, and this guy is normal. He is normal, he's not abnormal. Because I'm not eating like them, I'm not sleeping like them, I'm not emoting like them. I'm just relaxed all the time, still. uh, they started understanding. Okay, he still has his head firmly on. There is still reason. So he is giving out some logic which seems reasonable. So
He's
then
saying, yeah.
he's yeah, the sanity is still there. So that way, sometimes it happens that as long as you are agitated, people around you are peaceful. When you become peaceful, everyone gets agitated. No, so that's how for the first time I am touching Indian philosophy, Indian psychology, or Indian shastras. Gradually I started understanding the need for Ayurveda, for Yoga Shastra, because for to regulate the mind was switched off, so I had to regulate it. So I started learning pranayama.
Hmm.
Then I started studying a little bit of Ayurveda because yeah, if I eat something and let's say sinus develops, then I would have heavy, it's like a huge boulder kept on my head 24 by 7. So until it goes off, it will not, I will be aware of it. And such a pain is like pain. It's pure pain, and you don't want that pain. And what would lead you to not, travel that path of pain? So not just medicine, not just pharmacy. So I had to discover principles, and that's when I started learning a little bit of Vata, Pitta, Kapha. How does the Shadrasa, how to balance so that there is no pain in the body. Otherwise, the body has pain. The mind is silent, but the body can be in pain, and there's no fun. And then naturally, I turned to Ayurveda, a little bit of understanding the principles of. So there's more like principles oriented view, not more about roga and not about disease, but more like principles that again, because I'm already inside out, living inside out, I'm aware of the body. And the body, I wanted it to be, simple, boundaryless. And pain creates a strong boundary, strong barrier, which is best avoided. And for that, I need root cause analysis. And that's where Vata Pitta Kapha, I need a life systems perspective. When I study biology or modern medicine, it does not give me a life systems perspective. While Ayurveda gave me a life systems perspective. Because I am observing a life system, how do I cannot switch it off and then work on it and then bring it on alive. No, there is no, it's like in server maintenance. Yeah, you cannot have downtime. It needs to be up and running, even if it takes years. Like that, from an inside out perspective, I'm awareness. The body is a live system. I cannot shut it down and then reboot. There's no, when it is functioning, I need to make process improvement so that the functioning just goes on smoothly. So that kind of a perspective I did not find in biology. I found in Ayurveda. I found in yoga. So those really helped because those perspectives matter because I don't have knowledge. I have studied only math, physics, chemistry, simple engineering. I know how to handle the computer, Linux, but I don't know how to handle the body. I don't know, I have no knowledge, not from a biology perspective. I don't have life systems knowledge because already we're doing it. Let's say the sinuses are blocked. I'm experiencing it every moment. I cannot switch off awareness also. So that's how I turned to these principles, and gradually I started understanding from a inside out perspective how Sanatana Dharma, various dharmic principles, dharmic ways of living, everything matters. Everything is so well designed. The subject object, beautiful coordination, the whole spectrum perspective. It is a full spectrum perspective that Sanatana Dharma offers. That's a dharmic way of living. Uh, so that each step was a discovery. So maybe I think it's a little. I think if we continue, it'll take. We have come to a certain stage. Uh, uh, to continue, it'll take a full-blown again discussion.
We can continue. We can pause here, and the next session we can continue from here. The last few things that you told me, it reminded me of Tirumular's உடம்பால் அழியர் உயிரால் அழிவர் திடம்பட மெய்ஞானம் சேர்ந்திட மாட்டார் உடம்பை வளர்க்கும் உபாயம் அழிந்தே உடம்பை வளர்த்து உயிர் வளர்த்து. It seems like you have practical realization of that.
Yeah, so we will be touching that. So So then from there, so I have described till a certain point. From there, I will describe my further journey as I see it from an inside out perspective, where various aspects of this, how I experimented and came to where I am today.
100%. Again, I'm curious. I will wait for our next session.
Yeah.
Shriman ji, thanks so much for your time.
Yes, wonderful
Look
again.
forward to our next session. Yeah.
Yes, looking forward to. Namaste.
Namaste. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Muruga.